Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. This journal is finished and it's going on the shelf. I love it so much and I wanted to share a complete flip through of this journal for my channel so that you all can see every single page and all of the fun little art things that have gone into this journal. I know I can't get away without talking about the spine. There's a lot on here. I love it though. It is a thick journal, so I think it can handle it. We have all of the butterfly charms, and you can see there are beads in addition, round beads in addition to the butterfly beads. Well, they're not really round. You see what I mean though. And I have bottle caps that I used throughout the couple of months that I've been working in this journal. I have found objects. There's a washer from a parking lot, and there is a little tab pull from a walk on the Eno River. This is a little card I found while out thrifting recently. Easter was Sunday, April 4th, 2021. So I just wrote that on the back. I thought it was perfect that it had a bunny on it and that we also celebrated Easter during the time I was working in this journal. So let's get inside of this journal and see everything that's in here. You can see that it is completely full. I can press it and get it to smash a little bit, but honestly, it's about as thick as the spine is, and that's perfect to put on the shelf. I went ahead and wrote the dates, March through April 2021. I will be starting a new journal this month, and I journal in such a way as to include everyday ephemera and trash and true junk, but I also love art journaling, so I combine the two. You might remember this painting. Sometimes I go back to my old art journals that I am pulling art from for different things, like I pulled art from my art journal to send in to Stampington with Poetic Rust. I've pulled art from my art journals in the past to go in other junk journals, and I like doing things that way. I wish I had dated this one. I didn't, and that's one reason to always date your work. I think I could go back to an old video and find the date, and I will probably do that. I've added the stickers that Jennifer sent me throughout the journal. One of the recent additions that I really love, I was taking apart an old dictionary for some junk journal packs that I'm working on, and I love this front page. It says the College Standard Dictionary. I also love that every single letter of the alphabet had this really awesome diagram or sample of how to write different letters. You can see Roman, black letter, and script. So it's been a lot of fun looking at that and then practicing letters. I just took a stencil and used one of the small Tim Holtz ink pads to fill in the stencil on top of the dictionary page, and I love the way that turned out. This flip out page has grommets and just some string tied through, or kind of a twine or a jute thread, jute cord. That's a Tim Holtz stamp. You've seen most of this art, I think. I did add a vintage stamp, postage stamp that I found, and wanted to keep it in the journal where I can look at it. You might remember that this was from a blouse that I really liked, and I got paint on it. I should not have been painting in this blouse, but that's another story. There's a sticker that I added to this. I love using trash boxes that have the clear front, and you can put old pictures behind. And I just love the looks of that. It looks like a frame that says beauty is truth, John Keats, and truth is beauty. That's all you know and all you need to know. I don't know if any of you studied John Keats. There is a Tim Holtz stamp. And behind here, you've already seen the cookies. I also have this little piece of packaging from some guacamole. There is another image from the old dictionary. I love the mushrooms. There's a beautiful sticker from Jennifer on this page. And there is another one of the samples of the lettering. I really do like this Sharpie calligraphy pen. Let's just see. I think you're supposed to hold a calligraphy pen with that flat part at a 45-degree angle. I really wish that I knew more about it. I would like to learn. So that's not too bad. I think there's a way to make it thin and thick depending on how you turn the pen when you're writing. Came across a ticket while cleaning up in here and put that in. I love adding inspirational quotations to my journals, and I do take old journals off the shelf and go back and look at them for inspiration and just to remember. Junk journals can definitely be used for memory keeping. This was off of the front of a card that I thought was really pretty, and then when you open it up, I've written on the back, Jason and I hope/plan to marry this year. And we have been talking about wedding plans and where we want to have our wedding, what we want to do. That's really exciting. And of course, I have the quote here, life itself is the most wonderful fairy tale. Don't count the days, make the days count. You are the artist of your own life. Don't hand the paintbrush to anyone else. And here is another illustration from the Vintage Dictionary. Moving on through, I have added more quotes. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. That's Eleanor Roosevelt. And I have this bear from the Vintage Dictionary. The bear is my recurring nightmare, and I will have to share. I'm not sure if the bear's my spirit animal or if I should be afraid. I have very mixed feelings about it. And I would probably just dismiss the thought completely if I had not had the dream so many times. Here is a little clear cellophane wrapper that's got a violet inside. I found that on a walk with Jason. I may have to add some, in fact, let's just do it, masking tape to this. Sometimes washi tape doesn't hold as well as masking tape. So we will let both show. This is a junk journal after all. Here we have a case from an OtterBox that I recently purchased when I got my new phone. I love these ladies hidden behind there. And then when you open it up, this is a butterfly that came in some mail, a card from Nancy. I put that in and I left the wing so it would fold up. More lettering under here. This is where Jason wrote down a recipe for me to learn how to make whiskey sours. More journaling here. There is from a chocolate wrapper. You might remember Grace. I've added some lace to Grace. Stamp that I found, Pray for Peace. And the feather, more trim from that blouse. I love this picture of the girls in the hammock. That one, I believe, is on my website under free vintage images, and I do continue to add to that on a regular basis. What is this? Okay, that's from the Jelly Roll pens. I am fabulous, so are you. I do love this page. It's a lot of fun. I've got this photograph in the barbecue pocket. That's from when I stopped by Stamey's Barbecue on the way back from Reconsidered Goods. You can see more letters from the dictionary page. And just look at this couple here. Then when you pull it out, I've sort of done my own little drawing back there. She's propped up on the table with some wine bottles, and so is she. Here is some vintage music paper, and someone had actually been writing out notes and songs, and there's more of the lettering from the dictionary. I tried to get every letter in here. When I got all of these out here and started putting them in, I don't have the K. I think the K is somewhere in the house. I certainly hope it is. If I can't find it, it's not the end of the world, but I'm kind of OCD about stuff like that. I would love to find the K. This is really interesting. This is a piece of paper that came out of a box of masks made in China. So I think there's a lot of Chinese on here mixed with the English. This little piece of cord came from Valerie in the beautiful package that she sent to me. So I just took a hole punch, punched holes at either side of her waist where I could thread this through like a belt. And then of course this quote, the bigger the bun, the bigger the fun. Jason is always picking on me in a good way about my hair bun because sometimes it's really big And he says I get all stern when I have a big bun like that. I don't. He's just kidding, but I had to write down what he said. And then you probably remember this page with the wrapper. Getting inside here, I had a few Rolodex cards that I did some journaling on. They're just stapled together at the top. I practiced again with the calligraphy pen, farewell journal, ye be full, and go to the shelf. More lettering. I love this little image. It came from a picture frame that I purchased recently at a thrift store. One of the cards from Jennifer and another little note from Jennifer. All of this is just sitting here under the paper clip. I think that's her owl stamp, which is really pretty. You need to see that. So she stamped that for me and sent it, which I love. And moving on through, there is another vintage lady stuck behind a modern case. More quotations and beautiful card from Jennifer. Underneath you can see a package from some Easter candy. I have information under here about when I got my COVID vaccines. Just some more stickers and stamps. I have a thing with wire. I love, I just hate to throw it out. For one thing, I don't want it to go in the trash because I think that creatures can get tangled up in things like this. And I think it's really artsy. It's pretty cool. So I just wadded this up, very fine wire, and stitch across that with the sewing machine. More of the lettering. There's the spoon. You might remember that. And then flipping over here, this paper that I stamped on, this is some of that Tim Holtz paper, especially for alcohol ink. It kept wanting to lift off of the page, like the glue wasn't sticking. I think it's a combination of this paper and the wallpaper underneath. So with these photo corners on each corner, I drew wrote the ABCD, which I think is really technical and cute. And then I came back with my sewing machine and just sewed it's a back and forth. You set your machine on zigzag and put the length to 0. And then set the width wherever you want it. It doesn't really interfere with this. You almost don't notice the sewing there in her hair, but it definitely keeps this in place in a cool way. And then this is some packaging from some face cream. This is Derma E, and I love their brand. So you open that up and you have this vintage image in here. I like the green and the purple. I just sewed a little button there. And then I have a lot of flip out pages here. Well, a few, I shouldn't say a lot. There are some of the journaling cards. That one was from Jennifer. That's the little fairy card, and another card from Jennifer. Practice piece, some stamping, a vintage postage stamp, and here we have some stamping. A little note about the garden. This is a page from the Vintage Dictionary. I just love this, and I love that it tells us all of the different butterflies. I love including things like this in my journals. I love to read. I really love reference books. So going back through an old junk journal, things like this really just thrill me. I like to read and try to learn and remember things. Here's a page, and I've got grommets in here. I glued this onto this to help this old page be more sturdy. And I have some ink and just a few drops of alcohol ink. I went ahead and dried that quickly with the dryer. Got to be careful with heat and alcohol ink. I don't really think a dryer or a heat gun, just don't get it too close. I mean, alcohol ink is flammable, I believe. If you deny your inner voice, who are you? That's been a big question for me lately about some things, and I think all of us maybe struggle with this question throughout our lives relating to different things. This is just a greeting card that I love, that is so inspirational to me. I love seeing what other people do and letting that inspire my own work. It's nice to always give credit. That's the right thing to do. So I wrote on the back here, card by Coco, New York. This is Janine Kokonis, and that's called Poetry Bust. And I just put some alcohol ink on top of that paper clip sitting there. That is from a book that I had deconstructed. I had a few Marilyn Monroe picture books that I purchased at a thrift store, and I just love this picture of Marilyn. She looks so happy, so content. She led a troubled life, I think, in a lot of ways. Here's some ribbon that I found recently while out thrifting. And underneath here is a really neat little card from Nancy. She wrote on top of a textile sample. I love this. It looks like somebody just scribbled inside of a stencil. I think this was already on the sample, although Nancy might have done that. Anyway, Nancy, whichever way, I love this. So I put that in my junk journal. So I think that's everything. And then under here, I've got some more lettering, some of the shipping material from Jennifer. So then turning this, I added one of the beautiful stickers to the Stamey's barbecue cup that serves as a pocket. You can see I have some things from Jennifer there. The purpose of our lives is to be happy, Dalai Lama. I don't think that's a selfish quotation. On the surface, it can seem that way. I don't think it means just do whatever you want to do to please yourself. It is hard to find happiness when we are in places we don't want to be, or when we're doing things that, what if you have a day where you didn't get enough sleep and you're absolutely exhausted, but you have a commitment and someone else's happiness depends on your happiness and your joy. This is a really layered quotation, and I like to think about that sometimes. Anyway, so moving on. Oh, I love this. So this is a weed that was out in the garden, and I pulled it. I think it has beauty. Weeds have beauty, but I don't want that to go to seed in the middle of everything that I've planted out there. So I pressed it and put it in here with some of the vintage music paper, and I wrote only a weed. Even things sometimes that we might dismiss have beauty, and if we look closely enough, that might be part of that quotation too. The purpose is to be happy. A lot of thoughts there. So here are some more of the letters from the vintage dictionary. I did journal on top of this page. I'm just going to keep that covered. There's a label from some peanut butter. I do love peanut butter. I love this page. I put another piece of the vintage dictionary there. There's the zebra from the vintage dictionary. Some of you might remember my story about my second son, Joseph. I had 3 boys before I had my girl. I had Daniel first, and then Joseph came along 2.5 years later. John came along 3 years after Joseph, and you know, by the time John came along, Joseph had been the baby for 3 years. And you know, toddlers can have a time, they love the new babies, but they also realize all of a sudden that they are not the center of attention. After Joseph came along, Daniel told me after a couple of days that he was ready to send him back now. And I had to explain to him that it didn't work that way. And then Joseph, who had a very sweet temperament always, and he still does, after 3 days or 4 days of having the new baby in the house, Joseph came and announced to me that he was now a baby zebra. So I think it was his way of claiming his right to still be the baby or a baby, but he was making space for John. So we called Joseph Baby Zebra off and on. And here I found an old ad from the store that I had. I was cleaning out my desk, and this is an ad that I had for Sidetracked. You can see I have open Saturdays, 10:30 to 4, and I had printed some of these and pasted them or clipped them to some of the open public bulletin boards around town. More lettering from the Vintage Dictionary. Whatever you are, be a good one. Here is another coffee bag that I love to turn into pockets. They smell good too. I love the smell of fresh coffee. I'm not sure how I ended up with this. It's a piece of washi tape that I really like a lot. I think it might have been a page I was going to put in a junk journal. And so I just tore that off the paper and put it in here. I added some of the ribbon from Valerie's package to this. And you can see the corrugated cardboard back there. This was from an old placemat, so I cut the houses out. I do like that, and used it to make tabs so that this could be a flip out. This is from a candle packaging, and you can see the vintage lady behind. There's more of the lettering, and I love the way this turned out. I just fussy cut her from one of the old images and slid her down in the coffee bag, and it looks like she's got her elbow resting. And then I stenciled a bee. This is a page from an almanac from 1914, which I think is really neat. I love this illustration here. And you probably remember some of this. There's Valerie's shop information. Take this chance and run with it. I have some stars here. I was inspired, I think, by Nancy's little textile sample. This came out of the frame. I love this old photograph. And that's from a textile sample. I just sewed that into place. There's the beautiful card from Valerie. I like that you can see the stitching back there. And then just a number of things in this last pocket. I did put my birdsong stamp on the back. Let's pull that thread so it's not in the way. And that is this full, completed, entire junk journal. I just love the way it turned out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all really soon. Bye for now.